Hi team, how you doing? I hope you are well today. I hope this video finds you in good health. Or at the very least, I hope your health is going in the right direction for you. I hope you have ease of being today. Isn't that a beautiful phrase? I came across that phrase in a Buddhist metta meditation, a compassion meditation. The sentiment is to wish others ease of being. It always struck me as a profoundly kind sentiment. Ease of being. We often wish people, like, I hope you have a good day, wish people good luck. We may wish people prosperity or things like that. But it's so unique, so unusual to just hope that someone has ease of being. Isn't that beautiful? Like, I hope your individual expression of life doesn't have too much friction, doesn't have too much turbulence. I think we can all relate to that. You know those times when life is just uneasy? There is a dis-ease to your being. Nothing's flowing. Every time you try and do something, it's just jarring. It's just one thing after another. You can't seem to gain a foothold at all. I've certainly felt that. And then there's other times when there is just an ease of things just flow. But what's so fascinating is that when life is just flowing, when it's a sense that everything's in hand. It's not that things stop going wrong. There's still all the same troubles and tribulations. Things are breaking, appointments need to be made. People are getting sick, you're getting sick, there's trouble at work, people are being difficult, you've got something going on, all this stuff, physical, practical stuff, car breaking down, all of that. But when you have ease of being, it's a sense that everything is just in hand. It's a sense that, not necessarily that everything is in control, because control is a bit of a loaded word, almost. Not that everything's in control, it's just that whatever happens, whatever comes up, you can handle it. You're resourced enough to handle it. You have the energy. You have the space for it. And that is when we experience ease of being. So what a beautiful thing to wish for someone. I wish you have ease of being. Because it's such a realistic thing to wish for someone. I think it's something we should be understanding and aiming for on the spiritual path, is to have the wisdom and the intuition to know that things will still be troublesome in life. There will still be difficulties, there will still be challenges. That's just being realistic, that's not being pessimistic, that's just being realistic. But just continually seeking for ways to be at peace in life, in this experience of life. And to develop that spiritual and emotional maturity and strength. To know that yes, things will continue to go wrong, there will be challenges, there will be difficulties. There are things that require work. But it's all right. It's okay. I'm gonna handle it. And if I can't currently handle it, I'll find a way. I'll either learn how to handle it or I'll ask for some help to handle it, and all will be well. And if it's an internal thing to work out, figure out, then I'll figure it out. I'll learn or ask for some help. All is well. Ease of being. I think it would be a mistake to just try and spiritualize ourselves out of reality completely and say, well, no, nothing bad's ever going to happen ever again. It just doesn't work like that. And you wouldn't want it to. A stew with no salt in it would be a little bland. I don't know how I've managed to get lost in a tangent before I've even started the video, but here we are. That's not what the video is about, Corin. We weren't going to be talking about ease of being today. Cheers. Still, maybe I can crowbar that in somehow as that's been developed. Let me just take the opportunity to wish you ease of being. Today's video came up for me as something to discuss, something to explore, something to talk about as I was teaching a guided meditation. I was filming a guided meditation the other day, and it's a very simple one, just purely about presence, just 10 minutes of pure focusing attention entirely into the present moment. And let's do it now. Why not? Let's just bring our attention entirely into now. Just this. A sense of just accepting and allowing everything that is present, but just being the observer of it, not getting involved. Just a sense of awareness without analysis, without attachment. Just aware of what is now. And we're not concerned with future or past. Just not for this time, just not interested, just now. And during this guided meditation, a pointer came up. So I never have anything written down or really planned for the meditations. I just have a general direction that the meditation, a general focus point or a single principle to focus on, and just speak around that, speak upon that. So this was just presence, and never have anything written down, and I just speak to as the intuition arises, just sifting through, would that be good? Maybe not so good, and then that one is good, so then that's what I say, simple as that. And the one that came up to say was about how you will notice upon finding a sense of inner peace in the present, that your mind will try everything it can, everything in its power to pull your attention away from the present moment. You will find that there is a apparent resistance from the mind. Maybe you can relate. Have you found this in meditation? You sit and you start to find peace, and yet the mind, some days more than others, but there are times when the mind is just relentless. You might sit down to meditate and it says, yes, but what about, do we have time for this? We don't have time for this. You don't have 10 minutes. What are we going to... Yeah, but, this meditation, you might be at peace now, but what about later? What about before bed? What about tomorrow? What are you going to do then? These thoughts of future. You're just trying to find a sense of presence, and your mind's gone to the email that you need to send tomorrow morning, the difficult appointments that you need to make, or even an interesting one I thought to speak on is, it's not always a negative thing that your mind sort of dangles in front of your face to pull your attention away from the present. Sometimes it can be something like excitement. You're looking forward to something. So let's say it's Wednesday and you're doing your meditation. Finding peace in the now, that's all we're doing, just pure presence here and now. And you remember, oh yeah, I've got lunch with friends on Saturday. There's a little swell of excitement rises up in you. I mean, this is quite an interesting thing to kind of work through in itself, because we might ask, well, is that such a problem? That's a pleasant thought, isn't it? It evokes a pleasant emotion. So is that a problem in meditation? This is quite an interesting subject in itself. So excitement, anticipation, even if it's about something positive we're looking forward to, the first thing I would say is how interesting that excitement is exactly the same physiological response as anxiety. They actually have the same chemicals are released. It's fascinating stuff to look into. So that's one thing, is just notice that excitement very quickly shifts to nervousness. Excitement and nervousness are actually kind of so closely linked. You can feel this for yourself. It's just fascinating stuff. It really is. It's worth exploring, especially if you suffer with anxiety. Just start to explore the link. So excitement, just for one thing, just notice that although it starts as something quite pleasant, it can shift to nervousness quite quickly. And this is kind of how the trickery of the mind is, because obviously there's nothing wrong with having pleasant thoughts and pleasant feelings. Nothing wrong with that at all. It's beautiful, it's fine, of course. However, just if you can stay fully conscious of each thought that arises, just notice that the mind is very clever at pulling you into, so lunch with friends, really looking forward to that. Yep, going to look forward to this, look forward to that. It's going to be so fun. And then it'll go, oh, but I hope so-and-so isn't coming, because I don't really get on with that person. And sometimes they say things that I find quite triggering. And then you remember something they've said previously that's triggering. And then just the memory of something they've said that's triggering now triggers you. And now you find yourself uncomfortable with negative emotions, negative thoughts. And perhaps that triggering memory then leads to another memory. You might start getting into this analysis of, well, I get triggered by this very particular sentiment that this person said to me, and that triggered me, and that comes from my childhood, when I had a lot of negative influences at a time when I didn't really have the energy to field that negative influence, and so I had to bury and repress a lot of emotion, and all of a sudden, you see what's happened here. We've gone from looking forward to hitting Weatherspoons to get a burger with your mates, and we've very quickly shifted into childhood trauma. Right? And does that sound a little crazy or a little intense? But actually, I'm sure you can relate, right? This is why trains of thought is something to just be very conscious of as we're healing and we're trying to find inner peace. When we find ourselves lost in a kind of a mind storm, a mind attack, we're in that tailspin, we're in that turmoil. If we trace it back, just run the tape backwards, all the way back to where that train of thought began. Which platform did you get on at? And that's when we start to go, okay, right. I see. Wow. Right? So sometimes even that positive anticipation, it can actually be that fishing hook. Once you bite, off you go. It's just something to be conscious of. So that's one of the things the mind can do. Dangles in front of you to pull your attention away from the present. Or it can, the memories, I alluded to it slightly there, but memories of the past, you're just sat in meditation and then suddenly, if say it's in the evening, your mind brings every single thing that happened throughout the day right up into the forefront of the mind, and you were just trying to sit here and just be present. So that is why it is crucial to not engage with any of the content of the mind. Anything. Anything that it brings up in front of you when you're sat to meditate. Every single thing that it tries, ignore. Because you've just seen it for what it is. You just see the trick for what it is. And just, it's a sense of just saying, not now. Not right now. The mind is used to having your full attention for 12 hours a day. The only rest you get from your mind is when you're deeply asleep. So it resists this. It doesn't like just bringing yourself into full, total presence. But that is why I think I recommend setting timers. Just say, just for this time is for pure presence. I'm not going to entertain a single thought. Just this. Now, that's it. And just watch how things change for you. Watch how different your life becomes. Your inner peace becomes undisturbable when you do this regularly, when you meditate regularly. So, as I was teaching this guided meditation, that pointer came to mind to just mention that the mind is going to try everything it can to pull your attention away from the presence and pull your attention away from peace. And I thought, there is so much to go into, as I just did, right? This is a big topic to explore, but I only had a 10-minute guided meditation and it wasn't the right time. I needed to move into the next pointing, essentially. But I thought, why not just make another video just exploring this, discussing this, because this is fascinating. I think it's worth doing because it's worth not just understanding that this phenomena occurs. We know that the mind continually tries everything it can and keeps shifting its pattern as well. So anxious thought, pleasant thought, bad memory, positive memory, just fantasy, this, that, the other, right? We know that it does that. But why? Why? Why would it do that? Why would it do any of that? Why? That's what I wanted to explore. Why would it do that? Because this is the real mind-boggling stuff, right? This is the noodle baker right here. Cheers. Once you have securely found that presence, that inner peace, the mind then does go silent. And the mind is so happy to fall into its dormant resting position. It loves it. It loves it. Strange. I don't know if you've ever experienced it. I hope you have, and if not, keep doing your meditation until you have experienced this, because when you reach the state of no mind, meaning there's just you're just pure conscious awareness and there's no mind activity present, it's blissful. And you can just sense the mind is so happy to finally be in its resting position. Its job is done. Its job is over. It can rest now. So if it enjoys this so much, why does it resist when we sit to meditate? Well, we find it resists the present moment or distracts from the present moment more in the early days. So this is why it's important to keep up the discipline, keep up the practice, keep it going, because this is a retraining of the attention. And I found that the more I practiced meditation, the easier it becomes to just disregard whatever the mind comes up with. It tries all its usual tricks. Eventually it's tried everything. It's tried everything it can, and that's when it knows the game is up. It knows that, yeah, this guy means it. This guy's serious about this. I'll just subside into quiet. Oh, he's doing that meditating thing. I'll just go silent. Yeah. So that would probably be one of the first things. It's just habit. The habit, our ordinary habit, is to give full attention to the mind at all times. It is so prominent. It is always there. And we are so used to just going straight. We don't know we have another choice. That's the fascinating thing. We don't know we have the choice. The real power that you have is the direction of your attention. That's your true power. You can't change thoughts or get rid of thoughts, or we don't have a great deal of power over the thoughts themselves. But we do have a huge amount of power, perhaps our total power, over the direction of our attention. Which is why in meditation we might switch attention to the breath. Refocus, just divert attention to something else, not the mind. Or we might just withdraw attention from the mind entirely and everything, and just allow attention to rest in its source as pure awareness. So that's one possible answer as to why it's just habit. The mind has a momentum of its own. If you have a train of thought racing along, hurtling along at 100 mile an hour, and this thing weighs, whatever a train weighs, 100 tons of steel racing along, and you turn the engine off, turn the power off, it's not just going to stop dead immediately. It takes a little while. When we pull attention away from the mind, it's exactly the same. Attention not towards the mind, but the mind just races. One possible answer. The other thing is that perhaps this phenomena teaches us something in itself about the nature of the mind, the origin of the mind. Because the present moment is often uncomfortable. This is, again, something to just be realistic about. Let's just be realistic here. It's often said, no, just find the present moment and you'll be at peace immediately. Right? You might hear some teachers speak like that, and you think, really though? Because sometimes I go to the present moment and I've got a bit of a headache. I'm at work, so that's a nightmare. I keep arguing with my spouse, and that's causing me a lot of issues. So I'm kind of tense. And I've got it's like, and it's noisy today, and it's raining, and I'm just uncomfortable. The now isn't actually all that pleasant or peaceful at all. Right? And it's worth being realistic about this. In meditation, coaching, we'll just find the present moment. It's like, well, yeah, but what if I don't like the present moment? It's a good question. And therein, we find the origin of the mind. Because the mind pulls our attention away from the present precisely because the present is uncomfortable. Sometimes, not always. But you'll notice the mind activity is the strongest when the present is uncomfortable. The mind is a problem solver. After all, you're uncomfortable now. we got to go watch Netflix. We got to go to the fridge, get something to eat, get something to drink. We got to get on the phone. You know, the present moment's uncomfortable. Get on your phone, you know, start texting somebody, scroll, eat something. Oh, I could go and do this, I'll go and do that, this way, that way, the other way. There you go. It's what the mind does. Suggests things. Possible solution to your uncomfortableness. Quite helpful. I mean, it must be there for a reason. Everything's there for a reason. If it wasn't helpful, it wouldn't be there in the first place. Only, we have become so used to indulging the mind every single time there is the slightest bit of discomfort. This is where the problems begin. This is how we get hooked and addicted to Netflix. How we get hooked and addicted to the phone, and to the food, and to the substance, and to the people. And how we get addicted to thought itself. Sometimes you're sat and the present moment's uncomfortable, go up into fantasizing, go up into daydreaming. Anything to get away from now. So we come to see, this is the origin of mind. And we constantly question, yeah, but is that such a bad thing? I thought the idea was in life is supposed to create better circumstances for ourselves. Well, firstly, there's the phenomena I mentioned earlier of, you start by watching one Netflix show, and then you've binged watched the whole series, and you've lost 3 hours to this mind-numbing garbage TV. I'm not having a go at Netflix, by the way. I mean, like, just TV in general. You know what I'm talking about, the trashy stuff. 3 hours have gone by, and you had all that stuff to do. You had stuff to do, and now you haven't done it. You've been procrastinating, right? So this is the trick. This is the trick of the mind. And we know all of the problems that are created by overindulging in food and substances and social media and engaging in the wrong relationships and things along those lines. We just know that. So in meditation, the key there is to actually just accept the slight discomfort of the present, because that will save you a lot of trouble further down the line. If instead of trying to distract ourselves from that uneasiness of the now, the tension of the now, we find that actually it's not so bad, actually. If I just go directly to it, because often it's our distractions, our habits and our addictions that are making our life a lot worse. And if we just learned instead to tolerate slight discomfort, we wouldn't need to go to all of those negative habits. We wouldn't need to go up into the mind quite so much. And through that total, pure, some might say radical acceptance of the now, the mind can now take a back seat, because it's no longer looking for solutions. Because if there's no problem, there's no need for a solution. And is the present moment a problem? Is it a problem for you now? We just find, well, if I just open to that acceptance, kind of like I was alluding to earlier with ease of being, what if? What if I could just totally accept everything that is, and I don't have to go up into all of this malarkey? Wouldn't that be amazing? And that's not to say that you would ignore things if, like, I don't know, the fire alarm went off, or you had a broken leg, or your child is crying. You wouldn't ignore those things because, I just accept the now. It never works like that. And you know it doesn't. Everyone knows it doesn't work like that. People talking like that, it's childish. It's not right. Everyone knows that if the fire alarm went off, you would evacuate, right? If you've got a broken leg, you see a doctor. If your child is crying, go and attend to the child. Simple, right? So perhaps it is just due to our habitual attempt to avoid discomfort that when we come finally to sit in meditation, whoop, easy tiger, we come finally to sit in meditation. This is my intention now, to remain fully here, fully present, fully in the what is. The mind is just doing its usual habit. No, there's nothing to be found in the now. We need to go do something. And then lastly, I have the intuition. Well, the mind is intelligence itself, so it obviously is intelligence. I have this intuition that the mind is more intelligent than we give it credit for. We know it's incredibly intelligent, but it's a genius. Its very substance is intelligence. Its very substance is genius. So the mind is a genius. And I believe it can sense that its job is under threat. I believe it can sense that. Sat in meditation, we're saying, right, thanks for everything, mind, but just temporarily take a back seat. It's a bit like in work, in a job, in any workplace. If there was somebody, say a manager, who took an extended break for whatever reason, and we find that the place works just fine without them, and in fact, if anything, the place actually seems to run a little bit better when they're not here. It's not going to be long until the higher ups start going, right, is that job role really necessary then? So you can understand that employee, that manager, doesn't want to take an extended break for that very reason, because the job will be called into question. Cheers. And the mind isn't going to like that. Not one bit. So, it's one theory. It's one hypothesis. But then ultimately, let's deepen that metaphor, that analogy. What if then that employee, that manager did get laid off, but they got a fairly nice redundancy package. And then they thought, well, maybe I'll take a break for a year before looking for another job. I mean, I've got this redundancy money and I've got these savings, so maybe I'll take a year. And during that year, they go, oh, actually, wow, I didn't realise how much work was dominating my entire life. Whew, I did not realise that. I didn't know how stressed I was. It wasn't until I got laid off that I suddenly realised, wow, that I hated my job, actually. You know what? Maybe being made redundant was actually a bit of a blessing in disguise. Hated it at the time, resented it at the time, but now, looking back, actually, maybe that was a good thing that happened. Because now I've got the time and space to actually enjoy life. And then that manager, I'm getting quite attached to this manager. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm rooting for this manager now, this employee. Doesn't matter you got laid off, buddy. Come on, let's go. What's next? Let's move on. Let's move on. The manager might say, well, maybe I'll take another year, and then thinks, well, actually, if I just, it's only 5 years until I'm at retirement age anyway, so maybe that's me. Maybe that's done. Maybe that's the end of that. So that's the metaphor, the analogy, but for the mind, it's just like that. It's exactly like that. It's exactly how it goes. It's nervous and jittery about taking its hand off the wheel for a while. It doesn't like it. It feels its job is under threat. It thinks it needs its job. It has to know, I've got to do all this stuff. I've got to be predicting the future. I've got to be analysing the past. I've got to do all this stuff. The mind thinks it's indispensable. It thinks it has to do that. Great phrase, the graveyard is full of indispensable people. So the mind saying, no, but I need it. I have to stay in charge around here. But upon allowing the mind to take that back seat, no, we're just going to stay present, actually. Thanks for everything, but we're just going to be at peace now. We allow the mind to take that break, and eventually it realises, okay, right. Maybe we can just relax a little and enjoy this time. There we go. Right? And then one final point that just came to mind to speak on is that, my theory regarding the ego, I've mentioned it in previous videos, is that the ego, the entirety of the ego, is an emotional trauma response. The ego is the narrative, the deeply ingrained narrative regarding the body and mind, and the belief that you are trapped entirely within the body and mind. That consciousness is generated by the body and mind, and there's a whole narrative around that whole shebang. And the ego is that narrative and that belief, and it's there as the story makes the emotional pain of life more tolerable. Which is why the ego doesn't want to let go when we start questioning its validity. The ego doesn't want to let go of its protective mechanism, with good reason. Good reason. So when we start to find the present moment and peace in the present moment, this ego is threatened because its existence is called into question. And naturally, as that happens, there's a lot of nerves. Almost like as the ego dissolves and expands, we have to then reface all of those emotions that we'd previously buried, that we were previously distracting ourselves from. We come right to the core, right to the heart of it all. That essential core emotional terror at the centre of the whole thing. That terror at the centre of it all. I wasn't planning to get this deep, by the way, today, but here we are. We found ourselves here. Why not? The core terror stems from a false belief. Just a mistake of perception. Believing that you are a temporary, finite, mortal body. That's it. Nobody pointed out to you. That's how it appears. But just because something appears a certain way, that doesn't mean that's the reality of the situation. In the same way that the moon seems to be generating its own light source, it's not. Sunlight bouncing off of a rock. Same with consciousness. It's not generated by the body and brain. Consciousness is aware of the body and the brain. That core terror, the emotional trauma at the heart of it all, unnecessary. So again, if we find that true peace, that true acceptance, the ego is not necessary anymore. And we can just say thanks, thank you, thanks for the service, thank you, ego, thanks for doing everything you did. You kept us safe. You both mind and ego. We don't need to make so much of an enemy out of them. I don't think so anyway. I just think we can just say, look, you did the best you could with what you had. That was the knowledge that was conditioned into you quite aggressively. You did the best. You figured things out as best you could. But we know something else now, so we can start to let go. And upon that recognition, find that peace in the present moment. So I couldn't say all of that in a 10-minute guided meditation, unfortunately. But that's what comes up, just to let you behind the veil, when the pointing comes up to say one single sentence. There are entire novels that want to be said. So much to say. Anyway, all adventures in the non-happening, of course. Adventures in the Maya. Just enjoying the Matrix. I hope some of that's been useful. I hope somewhere in there something might have resonated. If you want to help me out, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and check out the channel memberships. It all goes some way to helping me to produce more videos and get the message out for the existing videos. But if not, that's alright as well, don't worry. All is well. May you be peaceful, well and happy, and may you have ease of being today. And the next time you're sat in meditation and the mind is going, yeah, but well, what are we going to have for dinner after this meditation? Now you know where it's going to try and take you. Disregard, stay at peace, always. Take care, be well, and stay present.